All right, guys. So we have Tony here, Acosta. I'm so excited to chat with you and just learn about more of your journey. How you doing, Tony?
Very well. Thank you so much for having me on, my friend. I appreciate it.
Hey, anytime. I'm so glad. Yeah, we were able to connect on Facebook and just, link up today. So wanted to dive into your journey for content creation, how you got started as an agent, how that even led about, and then where you're at and then where you're going. So you getting started as an agent, what's dive into that a little bit for us.
Sure. Yeah. I became an agent in February of 2013. So I've been in it for a minute now. Originally, I got into real estate just because my parents told me to. I was going to go off to college and hang out with my buddies. But one of my parents' high school friends was a broker at the time, and he was kind of looking to grow his team. And so we just casually ran into him at a burger joint, and he's like, "Hey, what's your kid doing?" And my mom was like, "Nothing." And so she basically dragged me to that first meeting with him. But it was awesome. He kind of explained what real estate was all about, kind of what he needed, where he thought that I could contribute. And so I made the decision to stay here in Utah and become a real estate agent. And so I was just a regular agent. I started as a showing agent, just showing homes. Did that for probably about 4 years. At the beginning of 2018, I became principal broker of that brokerage, and I've been doing that ever since. And so, it's been an awesome ride. I've learned a lot from just being a brand new agent to being a broker. It's two completely different worlds, but I enjoyed it. I'm really passionate about the industry, and helping out agents is something that I try to do every day.
Yes. Okay, awesome. So that's such a cool journey. With regards to your content and stuff, how did you get started? Did you start that when you became an agent, or was that was there something that clicked and then you're just actually you should do videos?
Great question. So when I first started, I was only 22 years old. And so, to me, it seemed like real estate was kind of like an old man's game, and so, and I looked like I was 12. I weighed 160 pounds. I was a really skinny kid. And so I was 22. I looked like I was 12. And then on top of that, my mom, she's kind of like a little micro celebrity here, just local. She does a lot of local news and stuff. So a lot of people know who she is. So initially it was really hard to kind of find my own way, and to get people to trust me. One, because I did not look the part. I didn't even have a car. And number two, my mom was kind of a person. And so a lot of people just saw me as her son. And so I remember on one occasion, I had a conversation with my broker back then, and he said, "Hey, you have to try to find ways to get people to trust you and just kind of try to differentiate yourself." And so, an idea that I had was I started to write down all of the questions that either someone had asked me or that I had heard, whether it be in a showing, whether it be in a pre-approval meeting, wherever I was always trying to pick up on questions, and I would make a list of questions. And then when I got in the car, I would just answer those questions on video, and I just started posting them on Facebook. And so, I was able to, over time, just try to prove to people that I kind of knew what I was talking about, because the first impression just on visual wasn't good. And the people that already knew me were kind of so I had to really work hard to prove to people that I knew what I was talking about, and just writing down questions and just answering them in my own way was one of the ways that I got started.
So good. How often were you posting when you just got started? Every day?
Yeah, every day. I started trying to do one a day. And sometimes I didn't have any questions, so I had to either ask my broker or ask people that were around me, agents that had more production than I did, just kind of common questions. And so there were days where nobody asked me a question because I didn't have a ton of clients. And so I would have to ask them to say, "Hey, did anybody ask you any interesting questions?" But yeah, I started out doing one post, one video a day. I didn't do any editing. It was just literally just my phone. I would just record and then post, and that was it. And then slowly over time, we kind of started adding a little bit of post-production here. We turned it into a podcast, and slowly it kind of started to pick up steam.
So good. I love that, because honestly, we all have phones, so it's we all should get started for sure.
Yeah. And it's crazy how good these cameras are. Yeah. It's insane. The quality that you can get just on an iPhone is insane.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Super good. when you started posting, like, what's some of like the feedback you got initially, and then like how did that, to where you are today and stuff? Yeah.
Well, the first feedback I got was don't record when you're driving. I had this little tripod that I would put on my vent, and so I would just like drive and like every now and then I'd be like at a red light and people would see me talking to my phone. And so the very first feedback I got was do not film while you're driving. Bad idea, guys. Don't film while you're driving. But other than that, people really appreciated just kind of having that resource, because and the interesting thing that I found was that the questions are consistent. Like people have the same questions when it comes to real estate. And so slowly they started kind of looking to my channel as a place where they could ask a question, because I heavily, encouraged. My DMs were always open. Any question people had, I would just make a video, sometimes on the spot. And so slowly people just started to really see me as a resource where they knew that they could ask their question. It wasn't a dumb question. They weren't going to be judged for their question, and they were going to get an honest response.
That's good. That's so good. So how long has it been for you making just like answering people's questions on video?
I really got heavy into it probably 2016.
Cool.
I did a little bit here and there. I played around with some podcast ideas, but really probably end of 2016 was when I really said I have to do 5 of these a week.
Yes.
And I really kind of went head down and started to do it.
So good. Okay, so what's so you're like making these every day, and you're like, all right, so this is working, something's happening. How did this like transform you as an agent, as an individual, and then like also your business as well?
So I think that one of the critical things was I was learning, right? Because when you answer questions, you learn along the way. So I think it was kind of a two-pronged approach. Number one, I was really able to help people get answers to their questions, but at the same time, I was learning. And so I was starting to kind of position myself as somebody who knew the answers to their questions. And so slowly I just started building trust with people and building that rapport. And really what it did for me was when I got a lead from one of my videos, it felt like I already had a connection with that person because they had already seen a bunch of my videos.
Yes.
And so I really didn't have to sell anybody.
Yeah.
And so in many cases, especially when we talk about like listings, for example, you have to have your presentation and you got to have it all, your ducks in a row, and you got to practice and you got to have your script. Mm-hmm. But for me, after a while, it really wasn't that way, because when somebody reached out to list their home, they basically already knew who I was. Mm-hmm. So I didn't feel like I had to sell myself as much. It was a much easier conversation. And so once you kind of start to grow that, deals kind of started to flow more naturally, and I didn't have to work as hard to get leads.
That's so good. Yeah. And that's like ideal. Like you don't have to, you've already done all the educating, you've already done all the selling, you've already established yourself as an authority, as someone that they know and that they trust, which I think is like the most important part. They know, they like, and they trust you. So they're going to like list with you and ultimately do business with you. How long, I guess for you, like in your experience, how long did it take for like leads to start, in terms of like for someone to reach out by consuming your content, and then like they decided to either do business with you in some type of way?
So honestly, it took much longer than I originally thought. I started making videos, and at first, like it was just my mom that would watch them, and she'd give me a thumbs up, and that was it.
Yes.
For months, it was like my mom and my dad, and my dad would like share my videos on his profile. So it probably, to really start to get leads, honestly, probably took like 8 months.
8 months, cool. Cool.
So it obviously I wanted it to be much sooner, and I thought it was going to be much sooner. I thought I was going to get leads after my first video, but that was not the case. So naturally, there were days where I kind of felt like there was no point. I kind of wanted to quit. And so, one of the big things was having a good mentor that just helped me stay consistent, and knowing that eventually I was going to be able to position myself, but it was absolutely not immediate. It took a long time.
Yes. No, and I think that's for anything. It's the consistency. It's like sticking with it for sure. That's good. So would you say it was worth it then after putting in the work?
Yeah, 100%. Because at the end of the day, there's at least in my market, there's so many agents. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of agents. I think there's a stat that says that the average person knows like 6 different agents. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that when I have coachings is you have to find a way to differentiate yourself. If you just do the same thing, which is like post your closings or like share a listing, like those things, they're fine.
Yeah.
And they are part of a coherent content marketing strategy. But if that's all you're doing, and when somebody goes to your page, all they see is just you asking for stuff, then it's not going to be very effective. So, I learned from people like Gary Vaynerchuk, meeting him, going to his 4Ds, and just trying to become more value centric, where I wanted to feel when somebody went to my page, they were going to get something in return instead of being asked for something. And I think that switch really helped me see my content in a different way, because it seems like, at least for many agents, we're just asking all the time, right? We're asking. But then the question is, how much are you giving?
Yes. That's so good. Oh man. Love that. In terms of like your content strategy today, what does that look like?
So basically what I do, and I just did a free, so my birthday was back in December. And so what I did was I wanted to give everybody else a present. So I created a mini course on content marketing strategies and basically just broke it down. So what I do is I have what I call a pillar content, which is, in my case, I call it the Ask Tony Show. So every week I film a Q&A show that's anywhere between 12 and 20 minutes long, where I just answer questions. So usually 5 questions a week. And so we answer those in one show. And then after that, I have a content manager. Her name is Ray. And so she goes back and she chops it up. So she chops it up into individual videos for the individual questions. I write articles on every question, whether that be Medium or LinkedIn. So we're sharing it on there. Every episode is then stripped to be a podcast. And so really that only takes me probably about an hour a week of filming. And then my content manager kind of strips it all down. And from one piece of content, we can get 60 or 70. We do things like quote cards. We just really try to just juice that one video, that one long form video into as many little pieces of content that we can, and then just making it contextual to whatever platform I'm posting on. Yes. So that people can see it, whether that's Instagram, whether that's stories, podcast, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, if you're going to use TikTok, Snapchat, whatever you're using, even like WhatsApp and email lists. So the course basically goes through how to do that, how to like chop it up. Nice. But basically that's kind of the strategy that I've used. Just have one long form pillar content, and then from there just break it down as much as I can. Yes. So that I don't have to, because then from one video I have a week's worth of content. Yep. I don't have to every day, like I used to every day, have to search for something to say.
No, that's brilliant. That's the way to do it. What was I going to say? In regards to the show, or the Ask Tony show. What? How do we see that? Is it on Facebook or? Yeah, so it's on Facebook. So you guys can just find Tony Acosta. Yeah. I have it. My podcast, the Ask Tony Show, on Spotify, on Apple, and so now, kind of the next thing is, now that I kind of established myself as kind of a good agent, I suppose. Yeah. Now the next step is just building community. So I'm starting to do a lot more interviews, kind of what you're doing, reaching out to people, talking to people, and then basically taking that content and breaking that up, because I'm a tremendous Facebook fan. I think that it's the platform to actually grow. And so when you can bring somebody else and then have access to their community by bringing value, I think it just 10x's your results. Oh yeah, no, 100%. That's so cool. When people submit questions, like, is it just to like questions that they've submitted to you just throughout the week, or do you cover certain topics? Do you kind of announce like topics you're covering for the Ask Tony show? Well, it's usually just via DM, to be honest. And cool. people kind of know, business questions, motivation questions. Sometimes it gets really tactical, really, really specific real estate questions also. But, I often find myself talking about leadership, team building, training, things like that. So, my audience has entrepreneurs, it has, young agents, old agents, people that, just like to talk business and motivation. So I try to kind of not make it strictly a real estate show. Although, like I said, some episodes do get pretty intense with like jargon and stuff. But most of the questions come in via DM.
And then I just make a list of those. And then my content manager says, hey, these are the 5 for today. And I just kind of ramble on whatever my answer is.
Cool. Awesome. So we'll find you on, so we can follow you on Facebook, I'm sure, Instagram, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, my DMs are always open.
Yes, well done.
Making content is hard. It's hard in and of itself. And especially if you're trying to compete with someone else, maybe, and I've been there. You feel like you need the fancy mic or the fancy camera. And so I try to just share what I've done, what has worked for me, and try to just give people a little bit of motivation along the way.
That's so good. So people can reach out to you just to, get help for that.
100%.
Yeah.
Anytime.
That's so good. I think it's such a need in the industry for sure, and especially in real estate, where there's not a whole lot of people, differentiating themselves in video content. So I'm all for the mission, man. I love it. So good. Let's see. I'm trying to think of any. So what does 2021 look like for you in terms of with your content strategy or maybe your goals or community, any community goals and stuff?
Yeah, sure. So aside from the real estate stuff, I do a lot of motivational content in Spanish. And so on the English side with the Ask Tony show, I want to have as many interviews as I can. If I can have 100 interviews this year, perfect. Because I want to start bringing other people in. For the last 4 years, it's just been me talking. And while people have enjoyed it, I want to now bring in other people. Now that I know how to interview, now that I know how to just talk, I'm comfortable in front of a mic.
Yeah.
Now I want to really build community with others. And then on the other side, last year I set a goal for my Spanish content to get one video to 1 million views. And so I was able to do that twice.
Nice.
And so this year it's to have at least 10 videos that have 1 million views each.
So good.
So that's kind of a lofty goal, but I'm all in for it.
Yeah, dude, all for it. Oh man, heck yeah, that's so good. Okay, cool. And then we can follow. So we'll throw all your social links up and stuff.
There's so many. It can get confusing, but I have basically on Facebook. I have the English one that is more business real estate, and then I have the Spanish one, and same on Instagram. I have also two profiles. So one in English, one in Spanish. So
awesome. Good stuff. Cool. Tony, thank you so much for taking time to just chat with me and to pour out some knowledge. I'm honored to chat with you. So super, super cool.
Yeah, it was great. No, thank you so much. And really just kind of a closing message for all of your audience. Whatever business you're in, guys, it doesn't matter. Just try to find ways to provide value. Make videos, it really is the separator, because very few people are doing it. In my industry, very few, but whatever industry you're in, probably very few people in your area, especially for businesses local, is really using video in the right way. So if you can get good at that, you'll win. You'll absolutely win. Even if your videos aren't perfect, it doesn't matter. Trust me.
Yep. Yeah. With that being said, start your videos, guys. Just do it. Just start it.
Man, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Anytime. All right. Till next time, guys.